Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 18 of the Revenants Gaming Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster commentary. This is Loghain F, and thank you for joining me. So, in our last part, we fought Queen Tiamat, the leader of the Four Fiends, and also the Fiend of Wind. And in this part, we're going to be first things first. We are going to be going to first things first. We're if y'all remember that cave with the dwarves, we're going to use the Adamantite that we found in the previous dungeon, and I kind of got sidetracked here, and to craft the most powerful sword for the knight. Okay. And this is a recurring weapon in the classic Final Fantasies. Alright. Excalibur. Yes, it's quite fitting that we get this sword right before the final dungeon, because it will just help us just shred through the enemies, which is nice. Yeah. And, gives the warrior and gives the knight the ultimate power, so, yeah. Alright. So, alright, as you can see, we're... So yeah, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the last dungeon of the game, Chaos Shrine. As you remember, we went here, and we actually went here in the first part to fight Garland, like the first boss. So what we're doing here is we're actually gonna be going back in time in hopes of beating the Four Fiends and Garland before they become a problem in the future. In the future. So, yeah. 1,000 years to be precise, but yeah. Anyway. So yeah, this segment, it's gonna be a lot of traversing of the dungeons, but and it's basically a boss gauntlet, which thankfully I'm so thankful that we have the quick save option, because I cannot imagine doing this whole dungeon, the Four Fiends plus the final boss. I cannot imagine. Because my first two playthroughs, I had really bad luck when I was doing it. And my first playthrough, I think I lost count how many times I died to the final boss. Although that was mainly due to a first playthrough, me not having a good understanding of how the mechanics worked. Which, my second playthrough, I fared a lot better, but I still ended up dying my first time fighting the final boss. Whereas in this playthrough, I have a complete understanding how the mechanics work. I did not get behind in the levels, and, I spec'd things out pretty well, so, yeah, it worked out in the end. Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, and this part, realistically, I could have taken on all four Fiends in this part if I just maybe edited out the random encounters, because, we're dealing with bosses. In theory, those would take up a sizable portion, although at this point, the bosses really they really don't pack a lot of punch at this point. The bosses really don't pack a lot of punch at this point because of how high leveled we are and techniques we got, and I guess it's just it's kind of a way to pat things out. But I guess if we're going by the logic of, we got to kill these things before they become a problem in our current timeline, then yeah, I guess it makes sense. Yeah. I will say that this game has a much less confusing take on time travel than Final Fantasy VIII does, whereas Final Fantasy VIII is... That game's take on time travel can be, well, for lack of a better term, trippy. very, very trippy, but maybe I'll eventually get to that game at one point. Can't really predict the future on that. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of chests that we open in this dungeon, with the exception of one, they're things that I don't really end up using anyway, I don't think, if memory serves. So, yeah. As you can see, Holy and Flare are great for clearing things out, plus our Knight and Ninja have just beast attack stats at this point, so we're just shredding through things. Yep. Yep. And, yeah. So, yeah, it does feel good to be, like, with this recording, it does feel good to be on the home stretch, I guess you could say. Because, you know, it's, you know, we've put it off too long, I feel like, but that's the fun thing about growing older. You, when you think you have a lot of time to get something done, it doesn't always work out that way, but you live, you learn. Yeah. But thankfully, we're gonna have a more concise. I'm gonna have a more concise upload schedule. So yeah. I'm at least I'm hoping so. So yeah, let's go through. And yeah. So yeah, getting back to it. So this dungeon itself is, again, the only thing that really sets it apart is the boss gauntlet, I guess you could say. But other than that, it's a pretty standard dungeon. A little lengthy for my taste, but you know, I guess they had to reinforce this is the final dungeon somehow. I mean, later Final Fantasies, the final dungeons were much more unique, but yeah, like I think in the classic Final Fantasies, my favorite final dungeon, as cliched as it sounds, is Final Fantasy VI's, which that is Final Fantasy VI is. It's like people kind of battle it out, I've noticed, on whether or not out of the classic games, like the 2D ones, is Final Fantasy V the best, or is it Final Fantasy VI? Which my take on that is, I think Final Fantasy VI has probably the better story, but Final Fantasy V, I don't know, I feel like the gameplay just in general just is more polished in that, because there's a lot more variety in how you can do things, which, oh lord, I'm dreading. Like, I'm kind of dreading when I get to the point where I'm recording Final Fantasy V, but at the rate I've been going, that's probably not going to be for quite a while. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I guess this is the point where, since I'm just mowing through enemies and not much is happening, I'll ask you guys. I might have asked this in a previous part, I forget, but what's y'all's favorite classic Final Fantasy game? Like, yeah, and also I guess you could tell me why is it your favorite? Like, is it story, characters, gameplay, you know, music, just, I don't know. And I guess in general, like, maybe you could include, like, what's your favorite 2D RPG in general? I don't know. I'd love to hear the answers. Yeah. Oh, listen to me. I'm just rambling. But yeah. You know, I just want some audience engagement, you know. Alright. Getting real close. Yeah. 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 Great. Yeah. Oh yeah, so at one point, I mentioned in a very early part that I wished that I could find a way to emulate the original Phantasy Star. Well, in terms of emulation on PC, I have not had the best of luck with that. There's just a lot to there. There's really just a lot that goes into that process, which, I mean, I'm not a fan of the original Phantasy Star at all. I've mentioned that. But maybe when I figure out the wonders of capture cards, I can really, you know, I can just play it on the Sonic Ultimate Genesis Collection. I think that's what it's called. But Yeah, let's just say that's another, like Final Fantasy 2. It's a good thing I would not be recording that live. Although, because for one thing, the original Phantasy Star actually like legit gives me a headache when I play it. Like it, but you know that's just me. Anyway, and there was nothing in that room. Yeah, there were probably some parts I could have cut out here, but you know. I just want to get this done. The Final Fantasy 2 will be a lot more polished. Anyway, alright everybody. Round rematch against Lich. Let's do this. Oh yeah. So as you can see, you want to buff up your team as best, like the attacks as best you can. And with the White Wizard, I am casting Diaja, which is the most damaging attack we have against Lich because he is undead at his core. So yeah, and I mean yeah, like the temper from the Black Wizard definitely it does help. It's still not. It's on to go to. Yeah, see, 553 in one shot. That's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, you really shouldn't have a lot of problem. Really, unless you're severely underleveled, you really shouldn't have any problems with this boss gauntlet. I mean, you kind of might, like, pretty much, I'd say you use the same strategy with minus Lich. You kind of use the same strategy for Merilith, Kraken, and Queen Tiamat. You pretty much use the exact same strategy for all of them. But yeah, Lich, it's only slight deviation because you actually have an attack that is super, I guess if we use a Pokemon term, super effective. Yeah. Anyway, alright, so that's the first part of the boss gauntlet. As always, I would like to thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next part. This is Loghain F. See you guys later.